the best thing that we could have done for the Devil is to not have just been like, no, we don't like baseball anymore. You know, that's too close to home or moving
Yeah.
away or whatever. It's like, no, we're going to feel this and we're going to turn this pain into something greater.
This is the Dry Diaries with your author, Alex Dry.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your author, Alex Dry, and I am back with another entry of the Dry Diaries. Today I have Foster Sawyer. He is the director of football at AP Ranch and has played football for years.
Now,
Retired, yeah. He actually just got off the field. So tell us a little bit about your position at AP Ranch, what you do.
I'm director of football operations here at the ranch in Fort Worth, Texas. We just help kids try to stay in the game of life. That's why I tell my parents all the time and kids is if we can keep them busy with football in their hand or running track or basketball, whatever it is, keeping them in the game of life. I love it. I love work. We have 10-year-olds all the way up to college kids. And we just finished up some NFL draft prep with Travis Hunter. We hosted Cam Ward. So we see all types of athletes here, but kids, young athletes is my specialty.
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar, AP Ranch is a nonprofit sports facility started in Fort Worth, Texas, originally by my dad.
Yep. 2013, I believe.
Yeah, and then Foster came on as well as a few other coaches that run the different sports. So there's football, basketball, track, and a little bit of volleyball.
We host volleyball.
Host volleyball players.
Yeah, we host soccer events, but our sports are mainly track, football, and basketball.
Mhm.
And it's cool because Jonathan Gray's our head strength coach, and me and him were trained by Coach Greg Dalton. Trained with him. So Greg Schuller's our head director, and he's the man. So it's cool for all of us to come back, and it's a true family around here.
It's basically to help kids come train that maybe wouldn't get the opportunity to get the training, and then also jumpstart them into being seen by different coaches to help them get college scholarships.
Yeah, I would say like the mission statement's just to, like I said, to help them individually, whatever their journey is in life. Our biggest goal for these kids is to find a way to get school paid for, whether that's running around in a circle in the track meet or throwing the football as far as you can, whatever that is, to get school paid for and set them up for success beyond just being the best athlete, be the best individual you can be. So
Yeah.
we use our connections and help a lot of schools in the area in Fort Worth that need some help.
Being the director of football, you have to have a background in football and a love for football. Where did it all begin?
I played multiple sports growing up as a kid. I grew up in a house with 3 brothers, so one sister, and it was very competitive. So I played baseball, football, and basketball all the time. From there, I fell in love with what football offered, and that was relationships. Like that's what it came down for me. So I played quarterback. I went to school All Saints right down the road, go Saints, and then went to TCU for 3.5 years from 14 to 17. Somewhat highly recruited, but I wanted to stay home in Fort Worth, and then went to Stephen F and finished my career there.
Yeah. So what made you transfer from TCU to Stephen F. Austin?
That's a good question. I was pretty tough. The quarterback position, you have to play and get better. I found myself when I did play, I didn't feel like Foster. And I felt this pressure constantly over my shoulder, whether it was from myself or I had to just get away from this town. I love Fort Worth, love everything that came from it, but it got to the point where it really affected my mental and my game. So I wanted to journey away, and that just led me to East Texas and Stephen F. Austin. It's before the transfer portal, so you have to drop down a level, or else I would have to sit out a year. So yeah, I like to say it was Stephen F. was a very challenging time for me, but it was the best thing for me, adversity-wise. I had to overcome a lot, and now I'm sitting here and doing what I love.
No, I think that's the best thing. I mean, for me, I grew up in Fort Worth, but getting away is the best thing that ever happened. Obviously, like a new perspective, you're introduced to new people, new cultures, new things. You kind of get stuck in a bubble if you are staying in your hometown. So was it at TCU the fact that the pressure of the people you grew up around and them being there at the games and wanting you to perform, or what was
little bit of everything. I want to make my circle proud, first and foremost. I'm still
Yeah.
like that today. That's all I care about. They just want me happy is what I learned. And it's not about how many touchdowns I throw. Am I doing what I love and am I happy? The pressure I felt was just from the self that I put on myself, to where I generally found myself finding my identity in each throw, in each practice. And it wasn't healthy because, as you know, quarterback, there's a lot of failures and success. So good or bad, I started finding my identity in this game. And it just wasn't healthy, to the point where I could just play free and have fun and do what I love. And that's what I teach my kids now. Just do it because it's a fun sport. Do it for fun. Don't do it to please your parents or your uncle or whoever. I think it came down to the point where I was in a spiral effect to pleasing others and coaches. I just had to disappear to be like, what does Foster want?
Do you think that came from childhood, or is it just the way you are? You're always putting pressure on yourself to be successful, perform well.
I mean, when you do something, you want to do it to your full ability. I'm a passionate person, so it's like I'm either all in or I'm all out.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's right. Sometimes you're trying to find that balance. Today, I'm still learning that. But school was always tough. I'm super dyslexic. I've gotten better.
I didn't know you were dyslexic.
Really?
Yeah.
I had some trauma when I was a little kid. My family, we lost my sister right before my birthday when I was 7. I had just started reading before that happened. And then I couldn't read for about over a year, 2 years.
Oh.
I was good at math. I was good at sports. So I was like, wow, I love math and I love sports, because that's what I was good at. And so from there, to answer your question, that's when I started finding my identity as a kid, was based on my performance, because that's where I got my attention. That's where I got my affirmation. That's when people notice Foster in my mind. I was lucky to have amazing parents. Like, there's no better feeling than a parent being like, great job today on that baseball field. So then from there, I was like, I'm going to hold on to that feeling.
That's where you got the verbal affirmation.
Correct.
So then, yeah.
100%. And I'm the youngest. I grew up the youngest. My parents popped out my little brother Jack, but when you're the youngest and when out there, you understand. Like, sometimes
You get lost in the sauce.
Yeah, like if you don't speak up at the dinner table, you're not gonna get heard. So how I got heard was sports.
Before we jump into the deeper topics, we're gonna do just the Dry Diary Confessionals. So it's just little questions for people to get to know you.
Pause. I hope y'all noticed she's got the nicer mic, which we sit down. She made me sit over here because this is part 2. I was like, oh, interesting.
It sounds the same.
At least y'all could hear me. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I actually have another one of these mics, but it was just too much to set up. As you mentioned, putting a lot of pressure on yourself, gaining affirmation through achievements. That's kind of a superpower in a way. There's the opposite of having no motivation at all, and it kind of jumpstarts you to be self-motivating in some ways. So if you could pick any superpower, what would it be?
That's a good question. Probably flying. I feel like time travel's too much. I would say time traveling just so I can go back and correct all my wrong bets in Vegas. But yeah, I'd probably just say flying. Just get from point A to point B. I love superheroes. That's a tough question for me. What's yours? What would yours be?
Either mind reading, which I feel like I can already kind of do a little bit, or maybe being invisible.
Interesting. Why?
Just so you can be in certain rooms at certain times and hear things that go on, to kind of get insight before they happen. My number one was always time travel, but I feel like that would maybe give me too much anxiety, because I'm already a person that plans 10 steps ahead, like future-wise.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it would almost do myself a disservice to time travel.
Like, reading minds would give you anxiety too, though. I don't want to be in some people's minds.
Like, reading minds, as in you choose whenever you turn it on and off. I also think the gift of mediumship is cool, where you can touch base with people who have passed. What's the funniest thing that has happened to you during a football
game or practice? There's so many. I had to keep it PG.
What's
the most memorable? I don't really remember my championships. In high school, we won 2 state championships. I remember the main plays, but the most memorable for me, it's funny because I was just talking to my parents about this yesterday, was we played Mississippi State, and it was my first game after my knee surgery. And taking that field, we're playing Mississippi State, and they're number 2 in the nation for defense. They're really, really good. And the O-line's not very good, which that's who protects me. So I'm going up
This was
against a
at,
Goliath.
and for those who don't know, the knee injury you had was a torn
I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus,
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah. But just to take that field and feel the presence of God, like I felt him, it was such a calming experience. It was something I overcame varsity wise. It's like the hay is in the barn. Just
Yeah.
go play the game you're meant to go play. I will never fear. I still get goosebumps about that. We got our shit kicked in this game. Like we got rocked. But I just remember taking that field and being with God's help, friends, family, and coaches, but like no one could take away that feeling for me to be like, we got ourselves out of bed essentially. Because it was a dark place for me. It was awesome to take that field again and play something that was taken away from you. I don't know. But there's some funny stories I have in college. I mean, it's never ending. I mean, Novak and all that. There's some funny stories that we have.
You played with him at TCU?
Yeah.
Oh.
You didn't know that?
No.
That's like one of our best friends. She's friends with his wife, Caroline, and yeah, Schlote, me, and Novak.
Sometimes I just don't put two and two together. Okay, so if you could have dinner with any athlete, past or present, who would it be and why?
Professional athlete?
Doesn't matter.
My role model growing up was Tom Brady. That's got to be one of them. Tom Brady would be pretty cool. One of the coolest guys that we've had here at the ranch people love is Jameis Winston too. That's in the NFL. Like just a pure, just a good energy guy. Yeah, I would love to go golf and hang out with him and Tom Brady. That would be the deal.
Anytime I think of Tom Brady, I just think of the roast.
The roast?
Yeah.
I watched it. It was funny. That was impressive for him to take all that. Not even flinch. So,
what is one thing you're really proud of that doesn't have anything to do with sports?
I would say my family and friends, my circle. Maybe it has to do with sports, but I take pride in who I surround myself with, and I'm very proud of my circle. I have a lot of friends, but there's layers to it. I'm very honored, and I love the people that are in my life for sure. I would say that's probably the proudest thing. And I'm also proud of our football program at the ranch. The boys are killing it. We just won. 13-year-olds just won state. 15-year-olds are number 5 in the nation. We were number 1 at one point. But it's cool to...
Well, that has to do with sports, but...
Yeah, everything's sports.
So what do you define as a good friend?
Just show up. Just show up. And that could be texting, phone call, just watching a game, being present. I think people try to give too much advice sometimes, or they try to be there, and that's good sometimes, but sometimes just being next to them. And if you can't physically be next to them, you got to call them, just show up for them. And then from there, at least for me, then that's when you can be more open and tell them what you're dealing with. But just a good friend is doing something just because and not expecting anything in return. What do you think?
So consistency.
What do you define a best friend or a good friend?
I think it's someone who's there for you unconditionally without expecting anything in return. I was actually just talking about this with someone, and she was saying it's hard to find anybody that's a friend these days that doesn't show some form of jealousy or resentment. If you find someone like that, keep them close. It boils down to finding people that, I don't know, I feel like you can tell when you find a good friend through obviously consistency of like communication, but just also unconditional love. They're always there for you, and they do things without expecting anything in return. It's never, what am I going to give you and what can I get back? Which is hard to find.
Most people say all the time, you're lucky to have 3 to 5 really good friends. And that goes back to what I said, why I'm so happy. Like I have those in my life. And it's also cool to be that too, to people, to be that good friend, to show up, because in order to have good friends, you have to be a good friend. I think loyalty too, that's consistency, all in the same umbrella.
Let's say you get to make your own walk-up song for life. What would you be picking?
For life?
Yeah, just about your life.
Like kind of like
song.
My theme song, my walk-up theme song. Dalton probably already knows what it would be. It'd be Iris by Goo Goo Dolls.
Goo Goo Dolls.
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
Wait, what's Iris? I'm thinking of Slide.
That's like their second, third song.
Oh.
Yeah, just look it up. No, I'm good. Thank you though. No karaoke today.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Probably that, or Sugar We're Going Down Swinging. I mean, obviously your country like songs, but Sugar, We're Going Down Swinging, and Iris are probably my two songs.
That's
Johnny
very
Cash.
typical boy karaoke song answers. If you weren't working in football or at the foundation, what would your dream job be?
Something with traveling the world, probably. Something to where I could meet a lot of people now, which sounds crazy because if you would told me
I feel like that's not
me,
the typical answer I would expect.
just something different, I guess. Like if it wasn't this, like this is my dream job.
Mm.
I'm in it and I can believe it to my core.
But I feel like you don't travel a lot.
No, I don't. That's why I'm saying, like, if I wasn't doing this, dream, right? Something
Okay.
that's not what you're in, like a different world almost, like something where I could travel as a businessman. I don't
Okay.
know. Sales.
Okay.
I like sales, but it'd have to be a product that would change and help people, like maybe medical sales. I don't know.
One of your goals is to travel?
I would say that's on my
Bucket list?
to do, like to work on. I want to travel more. Like, I would go on vacation more and plan it. I don't plan like what you're talking about, like planning in advance. I forgot we were doing this today. So I'm just a kind of doer, but I want to travel a little bit more.
I
I'm
feel
not-
like you
I'm-
plan things out with your life and goals, but as
Yeah.
in like to-dos every day.
Yeah, I just wake
That's
up and
not-
go.
Yeah.
But like I'm not saying I would like to go to Europe for a little bit or something. I don't know. Going to Florida's enough for me too, though.
Foster's basically a part of our family at this point. He comes with us to all of our family vacations, get-togethers, dinners.
Vegas trips.
It's just expected that Foster will be there. We
He's
just
not
have a
related to
really
y'all.
big family. Foster's just an extended part of it.
It's just-
Okay, so now to get a little deeper, you touched that you are the youngest. Well, not youngest, there's Jack, but
the first youngest, if you ask my parents.
that doesn't really make sense.
I grew up the
You
youngest.
come with the family of 4 boys and you had a sister.
Correct.
So can we chat a little bit about your sister and her story?
Yeah. Well, to answer the argument, so it's Preston's my oldest brother, then it's Tate. Okay, but it was Preston, Tara, who passed away, Tate, me. We grew up all 18 months apart. 10 years later, my parents popped out Jack. So
Okay.
like I grew up the youngest.
Yeah.
And then Jack's like, we're still super close. Jack's my dude. But I grew up the youngest in the group. But yeah, my sister, she passed away when she was 10. She attracted amoeba, which basically a disease that went through her nose at the lake we were swimming at, and it killed her brain and put her in a coma.
That's
So,
crazy. How
um,
rare did they tell you like how rare something?
Yeah, I'm sure someone knows the statistics of how rare that would be, especially with all of us swimming in that area and the
Yeah.
fact that it went through her nose. That was the first case that ever happened at that lake.
No way.
And then there was another one pretty quickly. I can't remember if it was a year or two.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, actually, even I was in a class and my teacher, somehow this came up of Naegleria amoeba.
Mm-hmm.
They said, yes, there was she brought it up towards like there was 2 cases and one of them was a 10-year-old girl. And it really shook all of us. So it was 4th of July. She was talking about being safe in the lakes.
Oh, wow.
And she brought it up and was like, y'all be careful.
What about your
Take
sister?
Yeah, she said there was a girl that was like 10 years old back in like early 2000s. She was talking about my sister. And I went
That's
up to her
crazy.
after class, Miss Bradley, if you're listening. It was crazy body experience too, where I was like, what you were talking about, that was my sister. And she broke down crying.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, it was crazy. But
Where
I
does
don't-
the amoeba come from?
still water, heat, humidity, and still water. That's how the bacteria, or I'm not a scientist, but
Yeah.
that's how it happens. It got to the point where water would like go through our nose. You know, people drink water hose, in baseball, wiffle ball, and like I'd get some in our nose. Like me and my brothers were like, I remember my brother panicking once. He thought he was
Yeah.
about to get it. So we had to battle through that, but just absolutely crazy. The crazy part was she just lost a World Series. I think they got like 4th in baseball. She was a badass. She played not softball, baseball. Select at that, played at a high level. And she was so competitive when she lost. That was the first place she said to my parents. I remember vividly. She was like, I want to go to the lake.
Oh, wow.
I want to go to the lake and get away. She's like me. Even when I lose these 7-on-7 games, like it's like a defeat. It is like
Yeah.
me and her are very similar in that area. which I know your families too, how competitive y'all are. So, but that was the ironic part, was that that's where she wanted to go. So,
Dang. So once you guys were at the lake and the amoeba went up her nose and she got a headache.
yep.
And shortly after was in the hospital.
Yeah, she went into our lake house and was just like, Mom and Dad, I have a headache. Drink some water. I remember her saying that she had a headache. All I remember is them getting in the car at the lake house. My Mima was there. And my parents were like, we're going to take Tara to the doctor. Y'all, the next thing you know, a couple of days later, we're back in Cook's Hospital right down the road from here, and she's in a coma. So I didn't get to say goodbye or nothing. I remember her getting in the car, and that was it.
Oh,
So,
wow. And she was 10?
She was 10. And I feel like people say this, but she was wise beyond her years. It's crazy how mature she was and her presence and how much she loved God, like held us accountable. Like my parents still talk today about it. Like they were like talking about how Tara made them better in spirituality. She always looked out for the little person. That's why I'm saying that this is my dream job, because that's what the ranch is about. Like we're looking for the diamonds in the rough, the underdog, and to protect that.
I remember you told me that she was a Sagittarius. You were talking about how she had very straightforward, fiery energy as well.
Her birthday's in December. I'm very protective of my circle, my family and friends, like to the point where you have to earn my like I'm very protective. So with that, I'm also protective of my sister and the stories that are being told about her. And they're all true. Most of them, the ones that people are talking about. She was so sweet. She was an actual angel. And I'm like, hold on here. She also has some fire to her. She literally threw a controller at my head after I beat her in 64. I think it was baseball game or blitz or something. But I'm talking like, I remember that stuff vividly. Like she chunked this controller and it hit me right here. And you couldn't tell her anything. She's just fiery. But probably the other story I told you too, on the back end of that, I remember playing a baseball game called Backyard Baseball.
Yeah.
Put so much time and effort into it. And I lost in the World Series. And I sprint to my room crying. And she was the first one to come out of her room and be like comforting me. I remember her just like comforting me in the corner, like, it's okay. And I remember my head in the pillow and crying, no, it's not. Like, I failed and all this stuff. And she's like, you're fine. Just that comforting big sister. So
have you felt her presence or her spirit comforting you since she's passed?
Yeah, that's crazy you ask, because we had this podcast before. She deleted it. I think I just didn't do a good job.
No.
This is part 2, but yeah, I had an experience last week.
Really?
Yeah. It was my first, like, I saw her in high school once with the baseball at church. And I'm talking as quickly as like a subway. Boom, like the subways in New York, right?
Yeah.
Or it's how quickly you just see somebody go by. She was on the stage and it was holding a baseball. And it was the baseball that was like signed and autographed that I remember putting at her grave. But this one, yes, I saw her last week for the first time.
Can you share?
Yeah, I mean, I've only told a couple of my friends, Dalton being one of them, a couple in my family, but yeah, so it was an outer body experience. Just found myself went to go see Tara and my Meemaw, who I was really close to. They're buried right next to each other. And just finding, anyone that has loss, sometimes it just hits out of nowhere. Like you just kind of have this overall, just missing them, loneliness. Found myself there and dropped off these roses. And I just kind of found myself sitting back, taking life in, and I look up in the sky and not really praying or yelling at God, but just kind of being like, how am I here kind of thing, back here again. Like, how am I in this place mentally? Everything's great.
Yeah.
But just that day and stuff just kind of hit. Long story short, look down and I see my sister in this dirt, like half of her face looking at the roses. And you couldn't tell me different. I took the picture and sent to people. They're nice, of course, and they're that's awesome. I'm like, no, that was real. I saw my sister. I haven't seen Tara since I was 7, but it was her like skeleton. But she was alive. Can't explain it, and it's all within seconds to the point where it actually made me nauseous. And I had to walk away. But the cool part though is, Alex, that it was her face, and she was alive and knew it instantly. It just shook me. And it was the side of her jaw, like it was everything. And she's looking at these roses. And then just taking a step back, metaphor to me. My experience, God gave me a little token to see my sister to where it is death, but it's death looking at life. And I walked away from that grave like ready to go,
That's
excited.
awesome.
So it was special.
Did you hear her speak anything,
No,
or you just saw?
It was just her teeth, her jaw, her hair.
Oh, wow.
It was like her skeleton, but if you think skeleton, you think death and like haunting stuff. It was like the coolest thing ever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I cannot explain it.
How
but
long was it there? Very brief.
How long? Oh, it was like seconds. It felt like forever, but it's
Forever.
like tattooed in my brain.
Yeah.
So much to the point where, as I was telling people, I'm like, am I crazy? And my mom had to remind me. She's like, no, that was meant for you. She believed me and all that stuff to the point where it was like, yeah, so it was cool. So I don't know if anyone has had that experience. I believe you. Call me, text me, whatever. If you need someone to talk to now. People always ask, like, do you see her? And I've seen her in dreams, but I never saw her face in dreams. It's almost as if, like, I know, like, that's my sister.
Yeah.
But I've never, people say, like, if you hear their voices, like, that's, like, God, like, really tapping in to you.
Yeah.
Never had that. Like, I've had the presence, like, looking at you here, but I've never, like, saw her face.
Yeah.
Till this time. Even if it's a skeleton, it was crazy. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I believe it. I've never heard of someone having the skeletal view of it, but I've personally experienced seeing my grandmother, and it was the craziest thing, to the point where I was like, people are gonna think I'm crazy. But I ended up passing out because it was so overwhelming that I fainted, because I knew she was trying to give me a message, but I didn't know what it was, and it was happening all day long. And I just felt off. I had told people since that morning, something's not right. That night, I was closing my eyes and I could see her, but she was going away. I don't discredit. Whenever you have those signs, it's always in the moments where you need it the most, but you least expect it.
I believe you. I'm a spiritual guy. I think it's a God thing, to the point where he always shows up if you're just willing to see something like that.
You have to be a little open-minded to accept it, because she's one of your guardian angels. My thought is, if someone's looking out for you as your angel, they're going to show up in the times you need them, whether it's through seeing them, hearing them, or them sending you a sign, like a butterfly or a bird or something like that.
Hopefully we're not crazy. I already know I'm a little crazy
No.
just in general.
And then also, she loved baseball, so to remember her and her honor, you guys started a foundation.
The select baseball world, or just baseball, youth baseball, especially back when we were kids, it was like a family in itself. I mean, I never played with Dalton. I didn't even play against Dalton until basketball, because Dalton played up, and Dalton's a year older than me. So, I mean, Dalton never really crossed paths, but I know the drillers and all that stuff, to the point where it's a community and a family. So when my sister passed, all these coaches and teams, family and friends just put their arms around us.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's start a baseball tournament in honor of her. It probably was 12 to 15 teams, from 8-year-olds up to 12.
Especially because she was the only girl, so she was like the badass of the teams.
Yeah, my sister's, like, I remember I would always play around the other team's dugouts because I like to talk some crap. And my sister was second base, so I vividly remember, like, her going into pitch and striking out a couple of these kids, and they're slamming their helmets down, and they're like, and their dad's the coach, of course, over top dad, like, how the hell you let a girl strike you out? And I'm like, that's no girl, that's Uno.
Yeah.
Uno was her nickname because she was the only girl. So everyone knew Uno. When Tara passed, it was noticeable. I mean, we had teams from out of state be like, where's Tara?
Oh, wow.
To the point where that's when we started tournaments. Long story short, it went from 12 to 15, whatever it was, to over 500-600 teams. And when we were kind of really letting this tournament take off, and it became the #1 tournament in the fall in the nation, not Texas, in the nation. My good close friends or former teammates, they still send me pictures of them having the Tara trophy. They still have, because it used to be like her picture on it. Point being, she was still alive. She was still living. Her legacy was still being fulfilled. And the best thing that we could have done for the Devil is to not have just been like, no, we don't like baseball anymore. It's like, no, we're going to feel this, and we're going to turn this pain into something greater. And what better honor to be able to fundraise and do baseball, do life, and help kids in need.
Did you guys see more girls start
There was a couple. I mean, I know like Alyssa, like she
Playing
was a stud. I don't remember Alyssa playing baseball, but like you started kind of seeing that. Like there was one girl I remember when I was already like 14, so I was older on my team. This girl was like 10. I remember just taking my cleats off and watching. This team was like from Oklahoma or something, but the girl was a stud.
But that's cool.
So,
And I feel like that's kind of everyone, some of their or most people's life purpose is to leave a legacy
yeah.
behind. And they work 60, 70 years to do that. The fact that she had such a strong legacy in 10 years is crazy.
I know it's
And
cool.
continues to.
Correct.
Okay, so you're 29?
I turned 30 in August.
Okay.
Here in a couple of weeks, so I'm just holding on to the 20s as long as I can.
Yeah,
It's all downhill.
I tried. Okay, so you're 30 and single. How has dating been? What's the update?
Non-existent for me right now. I've been on a couple dates the past couple months. We just finished our 7-on-7 season. I have like 7 teams. It's been 7 days a week sometimes from January till 2 weeks ago. It's after hours, so I just haven't been able to pursue that part of my life. But as single gets over here right now, dating's tough. It's not as simple as it was in high school or college where it's like, let's grab dinner or go to a party. No, it takes effort.
And all of your brothers are married, some with kids, except Jack, your youngest brother, right?
I hope you don't have a kid out there. Just my oldest has a kid. His name's Charles. So my 2 older brothers are married. The oldest has a kid. My dad says Jack will be next and then me. Yeah.
So with all your brothers being married or having children besides Jack, do you get the pressure, not even just from your parents, but from life?
If I'm being transparent, like being real, if you would have said a year ago, like, no, we're good over here. And I am good. I'm happy in some areas of my life. But yeah, friends are having kids. Friends are even having their second kid. I've never been the type to be envious or jealous of that, but I found myself like, oh, wow, what are we doing? Like, let's go do something. Because like a lot of it's on me. I don't pursue that part of my life enough, and I need to because I'm so happy with my friends and stuff. But then like friends and family, they have their lives too. And when I feel the pressure sometimes, it's about time to grow up.
But do you think it's a thing because you live in Texas and Fort Worth where the pressure is put on a little bit more?
She hates Fort Worth now, but
it's not my favorite place.
Fort
in the
Worth,
world.
I love Fort Worth and I love this area specifically, but it is family oriented. It is very family like. It's where you want to raise a family. For me, like that, this is where I want to be. Whereas Dallas, like these bigger cities, there's a lot more single. The pool's bigger. Does that make sense? And you're not rubbing shoulders with people that are single, at least not 30-year-olds. But I mean, there are, but you know what I mean? Dating life.
I feel like early 30s is like the new 25.
People are pursuing careers. I always thought that was a cop-out, but I would like 100% say I'm so busy and I love my job. This is so much more important to me than anything in my life. And now it's trying to find that balance. Like, let's kick ass and work, but let's also work on a future family, I could say.
But I think it's important, girls, if you're single, Foster's a good candidate.
Yeah, here's the number, right?
I think it is super important to a lot of guys these days. They're just dating to hook up and not really intentionally dating. You focus on your career and then you also focus on yourself. And those come before starting to pursue somebody seriously. I think it's super important because then you kind of have the foundation of, okay, I've focused on both these things and now I feel like I'm ready, instead of just jumping into something because you think that, oh, I need to get married right now or like start having kids.
Yeah, it does. I think there's no right timing. You have to just do it. I have some friends that are like, we're not ready to have a kid yet. In the back of my mind, I'm like, are you really ever ready to have a human being?
I don't think so.
So it's not like someone's just going to knock on your door. You have to go pursue it.
I think that's my struggle.
I don't want it. Like when I'm done with work, the last thing I want to do is get to know a random person. I hate to say that. I want to. I'm getting that point in life. I'd rather hang out with family and friends and enjoy my time.
Because I don't know, the dating apps, the back and forth, it's kind of
not on Riola, whatever it's called. Yeah.
Raya?
What? I don't know. That was close.
It's just like the small talk, you know, like the back and forth of like, hey, what's up? How are you? Okay, cool. What's your real intention here? Because I feel like a lot of people are on those just to
I'm sure it's
hook
tough,
up
like
or
with girls specifically. Like if you're attractive woman, like people, like guys are constantly reaching out to you, and most of them you have to filter through the ones that are just like, are you doing it? Do you want to get to know me? Or are you
Yeah.
doing it because you want something else?
yeah.
So I'm sure it's
I feel
tough
like
for you
most of the
guys.
time it's just like they want to hook up.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's tough.
one day if you're out there. Okay, to end it, we're just gonna do 2 quick listener questions. Okay, the first one, Dear Dry Diaries, I'm in a relationship with someone who's super focused on their career and I feel like they don't make enough time for us. How do I set boundaries around my own needs without seeming needy? So how does she like present to him?
It's a she.
Yeah.
You're asking me to answer
Mhm.
that? What would you say first?
I mean, it depends how far in the relationship you are. But I think just communicating, hey, I feel like we're not spending enough time together and maybe setting, like one day a week to like watch a movie, have dinner, whatever it is that you feel you best connect with that person. I feel like that's not being needy. But if you're asking him to hang out every night or every other night, then you just have to see where each other at in the relationship and make sure that you guys are on the same page and meet each other where you're at. It's all
Oh,
about give and take.
I would say keep affirming that you want to see that person. So you're like
Mhm.
you're saying it's a girl, so she needs to keep telling them like, hey, I like where this is going. I like my time with you.
Well-
They're in a relationship, so they do like each other.
Like they're dating.
Okay, and he's not making enough time for her.
Right.
Yeah, she just needs to speak her truth. Like, hey, this is what I want, but also from a guy perspective, and I think just a human thing. Like, just keep living your own life. Don't be dependent on your happiness on him.
Okay. So how does she not?
Go see friends, go do things, go be active, not like in a way like I'm gonna get back at you, like going to bars and stuff like
Mhm.
go be proactive. And then from there, he will see that your world's revolving. And then from there, he'll be like, hey, hold on, what about dinner Thursday night? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're already boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay, then maybe I'm thinking the dating stage.
But if you're dating a girl,
This is a phase.
your
Hey,
world
dates.
of dating. If you were boyfriend and
To
girlfriend
me,
with
dating.
someone,
Okay, yeah. Okay, so
you're a couple
you said dating. They said they were seeing each
in a
other.
relationship.
They need to have some real conversations.
Yeah.
Like, how do we make this work? They need to pick a night. That's date night. That sounds pretty simple.
And I feel like that's not needy at all. But if you're asking somebody to hang out maybe 4 times a week, that's a little bit needy.
I like to golf. I remember my last relationship. That became like that's what ruined my relationship.
No, it
Like,
didn't.
not ruined it, but I was self-sabotaging a little bit
Mm.
because I don't want to I don't like want to
Give
be the
up
one.
some of your things.
Yeah, but also like I don't want to like hurt feelings. So what I did was I just kept golfing and like it's like then start inviting her to golf. And then at first it
my-
was fun, and they got to the point where it's like, are you gonna choose golf for me? And part of me was like, I would choose golf.
So you didn't have to face ending it with her.
Pretty much. I invited her at first, but then it got to the point where it was 3 times a week, and she was like, I don't even golf. I was like, well, you should try. But
Knowing that she would say no.
correct.
That's horrible. You should have just ended it. Okay.
Well, it is ended. I'm
Yeah.
saying here.
Okay, last question. Dear Dry Diaries, I've been dating someone for a few months, but I'm not sure I'm ready for a serious relationship. How do I communicate my uncertainty without hurting their feelings?
So it's tough. I mean, it sucks, but I had an interaction recently about like they just said the same thing pretty much. Like, I don't want to date. I was like, okay, totally get it. I respect that, and just be like, that's not where I'm at. Now the tough part is like, when do you get to that point? Like, is there
Yeah.
date 3? Is it date 5? Like, because you don't know if you want that or not. So,
I feel like if you're out dating and you're not really dating with intention, you should be clear from the very beginning.
like first date, we sit down at Chili's the first night. and-
Chili's?
Yes.
I am not going to Chili's
And
on a
you-
first date.
And you say, look, hey, this is what I want in a man. This is the relationship.
No, I'm saying if we're going on a first date and you're just in a hookup stage, like you're just going on a first date to get to know you because like you maybe want like a casual hookup situation. I would want to know that within the first or second date.
Yeah.
than continue to waste my time.
Yeah.
So like, okay, I mean, it doesn't have to be like some serious conversation. Like, it can
No.
just be like, yeah, like at this point in my life, I'm dating with intention.
Is that what you'd want a guy to say?
Yeah, or I would let them know.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Is that a weird thing to do on the first date?
I don't know.
I'm asking you.
You're asking as a guy.
Like, if a girl went to dinner with you.
I think couple. I would say date 3.
2.
3.
3.
Yeah.
That's like so much time that you've wasted. That's
Money.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, 2. Like, yeah, I think it's also the vibe. Like, if it's something pretty quick, like I like this person. I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. Probably second date would be something like, hey, I like you.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
just
not
to
saying
go-
that you need to like make it like, oh, we're gonna start officially being together exclusively. I'm just saying we're getting to know each other with the intention of possibly dating. And it doesn't mean I'm just going to dinner with you. I might be going to dinner with other people to get to know them, but that's where I'm at. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense.
If you've been dating them for a few months and you're not sure if you're ready for a serious relationship, I don't think that you're going to hurt their feelings. I think that it's going to be more of a thing if you keep dating them.
If you prolong it, it'd be worse.
So just being upfront and honest. All right, guys. Anything else you want to add?
No, thank you for having me.
Where can people follow you?
Follow me like on social media?
Yeah. Maybe the single ladies, maybe athletes.
It's just Foster Sawyer on Instagram. That's pretty much it. The guy with 2 last names.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to another entry of the Dry Diaries. I'll see you next week.